All right, let's talk about justice. Today, we are diving deep, really deep, into the very foundation of how we think about it. We're going to explore two radically different ways of seeing the world, two logics that honestly change everything, from how you see a simple everyday transaction all the way up to the ultimate punishment.
You know what? Let's just jump right in with a big one. An eye for an eye. Is the death penalty a fair price for a life? Now, your answer to that probably depends on a really fundamental belief you have about justice, a belief you might not even realize is there. And that's because this whole thing boils down to two competing logics. On one side, you've got the logic of reciprocity. Think of it as a system of transactions. And on the other, you have the logic of fraternity, a system built entirely on relationships. So let's break down what these two actually mean.
Okay, first up is the system that, let's be honest, most of us are familiar with. It's the one that underpins a lot of our legal world, the logic of reciprocity. The easiest way to think about it, it's like justice with a calculator. So here's the key thing you need to get about reciprocity. It sees the world as this perfectly balanced system of rights and duties. When someone does something wrong, they've tipped the scales. And justice, in this view, isn't really about the people involved. No, it's about the thing, the object that was damaged, and restoring that original balance. So how does this actually work in practice? Well, it starts by creating separation. My space versus your space, my stuff versus your stuff. The entire focus is on the value of the damaged object, what the ancient Romans called the res. And the goal is super simple, a proportional reaction to fix the imbalance and get back to that original static state. It's all just a quantitative calculation, a math problem. And if you follow this logic to its ultimate conclusion, you get something pretty stark. If justice is just a math problem, then yeah, the death penalty makes perfect sense. The value of one life is simply calculated as the price for taking another. It becomes a transaction, pure and simple. Okay, but what if that whole starting premise is just wrong? What if we don't exist as these separate static units? What if our very identity, who we are, is fundamentally defined by our relationship to other people? Asking that question forces a radical, and I mean radical, shift in perspective. We're moving from a logic of objects to a logic of people. We're now focusing on what it means to exist in relation to what philosophers call the other. Think about it like this. You aren't born a brother or a sister, are you? You're just you. You only become a brother when your sibling is born. Their existence is what literally creates that identity for you. Your identity isn't some self-contained thing. It's created by the relationship. You exist because of the other. There's actually a fancy philosophical name for this idea, alterarity. It's this concept that the self is defined by the other. Without my brother, I'm not a brother. Without you, a part of who I am simply doesn't exist. Our identities are all woven together. So if we run with this relational starting point, what does that mean for justice? Well, it creates a completely new framework, the logic of fraternity. And this isn't about balancing scales. It's about a fundamental duty to care. Remember that first logic, reciprocity? It's obsessed with one question and one question only. What is the object worth? It's all about quantifying the damage so you can calculate the debt. But the logic of fraternity just throws that question right out the window. It asks something so much deeper, so much more profound. What is the person worth? The focus shifts completely from the transactional value of a thing to the intrinsic value of the human relationship. Let's put these two side by side because it really makes it clear. Under reciprocity, the core unit is the object. The foundation is static rights. The goal is to restore balance. And punishment? It's a debt to be paid. But look at fraternity. The core unit is the person. The foundation is an active relationship. The goal isn't to restore balance. It's to take care of the other. And punishment is seen as a failure of that relationship. So let's go back to where we started. Under this logic, the death penalty is philosophically impossible, just inadmissible. Why? Because killing the other person doesn't restore anything. It permanently destroys the very relationship that, in part, defines who you are. It basically disqualifies you as a person within that relationship. To make this super concrete, think about a professor. The reciprocity logic says, a student hands in bad work, they get a bad grade. Boom, transaction is over. But the fraternity logic asks, why is the student struggling? It creates a duty to find out, to offer help,
to actually take care of them, because their success is part of the relationship. And you know, this whole big idea, this duty, it can really be boiled down to two simple but incredibly powerful words. I care. This was the motto of a school founded by an Italian priest named Don Milani, and it's the ultimate expression of fraternity. It's not passive, it's an active commitment to one another that says, your problems are my problems. Now, you might be thinking, okay, this sounds great, but is it realistic? And the source material is very clear on this. This isn't some utopian blueprint that we can just implement tomorrow. It's not for a perfect society. It's an educational challenge, a formative goal for the imperfect world we actually live in. It's all about changing how we think. So I'll leave you with this to chew on. What if our laws were built not on the cold calculation of paying back a debt, but on a fundamental duty to take care of one another? What would our world even look like then?